and welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147, and it has picked section 18 for today, my decision wheel. So we are doing a little bit more on this side of the canvas. So while I do feel that my decision wheel has very much gone towards the right, I will say it has sort of scattered in a block with a chunk of colour every now and then. We do still have a lot of white and stuff up the top, but do you know what? That is the point of the decision wheel, that it is varied, is it not? So we're going to go with it. Well, we're going to go with it because I've spun the decision wheel and done it for the whole month anyway. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to the point of comments, etc. But thank you all so much to everybody that placed orders for launch last night. The tray bundle, so the one that includes this month's trays and the trashy, sold out super quick this month. So we are going to try and make sure that we have more available for next month, because I think you guys are going to love next month's colours. I love all the colours, but I think next month's is going to go exceptionally well. But yeah, thank you to all that have placed orders. I will be starting to prepare those later on today, but I do need to do today's whip and waffle. Because of not getting one done on Thursday night, it's sort of meant that I've been doing them on the day at the moment. So I'm doing the whip and waffle, and then I will be starting to pack orders. Hubby has just been and picked up an air conditioning unit. We do have one. We do have a really big, huge monster one that we got a few years ago. Somebody was actually getting rid of it, so we got it for like 20 quid. I think I've mentioned this story before. Got it for like 20 quid, and then we had like the 30-degree days in the summer, which is not normal for the UK. And his work colleague who'd sold it in did try to buy it back. Didn't work, but he did try to buy it back. But it really got used last year, especially in our conservatory, because they do get warmer. We are we have a north-facing garden rather than a south-facing garden, so we don't get the sun on the conservatory all day, mainly in the morning. But as soon as the heat goes up in the summer, we are typical Brits. We do not cope with above like 25 degrees. It is supposed to be a high of 28 degrees today outside in our area. The conservatory was reading at 29. So what we've decided to do was get a second air conditioning unit, and the other one that we have is going to go at the top of the stairs. Because they're beasts, so moving them about is not an easy feat. Think trying to shift a full chest of drawers type thing. Trying to move that is not practical, to move that, you know, like morning and evening, especially in the heat that we currently have. So yeah, and our houses aren't set up to like have air conditioning all the time. So yeah, we've picked up a second one, and the original one that we had is going to go at the top of the stairs to go on in the evening to sort of cool upstairs down before everybody goes to bed and actually try and make it livable. But the weather keeps fluctuating what it's going to be here. So originally, earlier on last week, it was high today. It was high of like 27 degrees. but then it went to like rain on Sunday and the temperature dropped back down to like 22, 23, and it was like, oh, so we've got one hot day. Nope. Now it keeps fluctuating between a chance of thunderstorms, but it is between 28 and 26 degrees, I think, all week. So we thought we better fix that. So hubby's currently, well, it's all set up. And I said, I'm going to need to go and do my whip and chat because I might have to have a break halfway through if it gets too hot in here. I say it's not too bad. It doesn't get direct sun. But after a while of being in here, it can get warm. I hope anyway that you are enjoying the weather wherever you are. It is nice to have warm days, to be fair. We actually haven't had rain for about 3 weeks, so it would be kind of nice to have a little bit of a thunderstorm. Maybe through the night would be good. Let me go to sleep to the sound of rain on the windows. Oh, such a nice thing to fall asleep to. Anybody else like that? Likes to fall asleep to listening to rain? But yeah, that is our Saturday, is setting up an aircon unit primarily to make it livable so that I can get all the orders packed, or at least some of the orders packed. We tend to spread it over 3 days. Benefits of launching on a Friday. I do want to say, Kathy, I read Kathy's comment yesterday about purchasing from Evermoment, and I actually got confused in relation to the comment. So the one that Kathy was saying that I would like is actually the Neon Moon Tree one that she said I'd like, is actually one that she got from Amazon, her second painting, after she's finished the Evermoment that she started. I have had a quick search. I can't find it. So if you are in the Facebook group, Kathy, do feel free to bob it in a post or pop a link to it so that I can see what image you mean. I have had a quick look on Evermoment and I may end up picking a painting from there to unbox later in the year just to see how it's changed. But they do now offer round paintings, which Evermoment is not normally known for offering. So if you are somebody that does not like squares and avoids squares, and therefore has avoided Evermoment, they are now offering it in round or square. So you can experience the Evermoment paintings as much as the rest of us. And there are some extremely expensive ones. They are definitely premium, but I like the quality of their canvas and diamonds, so I'm going to give another one a go at some point. Brianne says she hopes I had a wonderful break away with hubby. I did, thank you. I don't remember seeing aircon in our room at Centre Park, so I'm kind of glad we weren't there this week, because I could be cooking. She said she's curious about the laundry setup for drying everything without an electric dryer. She says she has a little folding rack that she can set up to lay a few things on to air dry, but she can't imagine just laying out all her socks and undergarments and every bit of clothing out to dry all over the house. She said British homes tend to run smaller than ours in the US too. She says, so what's your trick? She said she'd love to not use her dryers as much and save on electric. So there's a couple of things. At the moment it is summer, so it goes out on the line. No shadow of a doubt, dryer would not even be contemplated in this current weather we have. When it is warm, it is not raining, it goes out on the line. So a lot of the time when we decide to wash, our clothes, because sorry if it's confusing, but we call it washing rather than laundry, though laundry does get picked up a little bit more so. But yeah, in the spring and summer months, it will go out on the line in the garden. Everything will go out on the line. Some people do like to still tumble dry their towels a little bit to keep them soft, but actually I used to do that because my mum always did that. Used to tumble dry a little bit to keep the towels soft, and my kids and hubby actually prefer them to not be as soft. When they get out of the shower, they actually prefer them to be that little bit rough. We're not talking full on sandpaper, but they prefer them to not be as soft, so I stopped doing that. So yeah, spring and summer, it goes out on the line. Sometimes you will find that if we've had a couple of weeks of rain, your washing will build up a little bit, but we have 2 really long lines. We could put 3 loads of washing out in a day and then, you know, not bring it in until late on in the day. Sometimes in the summer, you know, we can actually sort of bring some in after a couple of hours and then do a couple more. But we have quite a decent amount of line space. So at the moment, it will just get put on, put out and brought in whenever we go, oh shoot, there's washing on the line, or we can be bothered bringing it in. So yeah, spring and summer, definitely the washing lines. Where the beginning of spring and autumn are the hardest times to dry washing, I find, because it's not quite warm enough to put it out on the line and it dry out there, but it is also not yet cold enough to have radiators on. So the big thing that we often use in the winter is we have radiators that you can put clothes over, and quite often a couple of radiators downstairs are used to dry clothes in the winter because the heat's on anyway to warm the house. So it may as well dry the clothes. But the main thing we use is, what did you call it, like a folding rack? Yeah, we often have, or we do in our house, we have like concertina racks. So you pull them up. They're probably a bit shorter than a person, 4.5 feet, 4 feet. And yeah, they have lots of spaces. It's also called a clothes horse. And you drape your clothes over that. And 1 to 2 days later, your clothes are dry and you take them off and you put them away and you put another load on. So it's not the most exciting. If you are somebody lucky enough to have the likes of a utility room, then, you know, you would put the clothes horse, the airer, in your utility room, fill it up with clothes, and then the clothes aren't so much all over the house. I too don't like them all over the house. They go in our bedroom. So we tend to dry our clothes in our bedroom. Megan also has one that she has up in her bedroom. So she'll often put her clothes in her room just to help. And then the rest of the family's clothes will go on the one in our room because that's where we have the most space. So you don't tend to have clothes all over the place. When the kids were younger, we may have had it up in the front room. But yeah, we tend to have 2. Well, we actually have 3 at the moment, but only because my daughter's come home from uni and brought her clothes airer home with her. But that tends to be the way that we dry our clothes. Some people have one that is above their bath. So you can have one that sort of sits on the roof and it is on little pulleys and it comes down, you put your clothes on and you put it above and it sits over the bath. But our bathroom isn't that posh. So yeah, they tend to go on a clothes airer and then maybe a couple of radiators downstairs. I might use the hall one for a towel. you know, so not so much the underwear. The underwear dries quite quick. It tends to go on the clothes area. We too, in addition to that, do have a dehumidifier to take the moisture out of the air, and that sits on near the clothes area, so that can dry them. You can also get ones that are heated, so a bit like a radiator for clothes, and you just put all your clothes all over it and turn on the heater and do it that way, and it takes a lot less electric than a dryer. Hopefully that made sense. There might be a few words in there that are not common in the States and might need a little Google, but that's how we tend to work with it. But this weather, outside all the time, absolutely love it. As soon as spring air is just that little bit warm enough to dry clothes, outside all the time. Donna, she says, can you do a case that swings out? She says, so you don't have to remove the bottom foam tray and you can see all your drills at once. I like the idea. That isn't something that we have any sort of manufacturer for at the moment. We've not sort of ventured into the whole different storage for diamond paintings because there's so many companies out there that offer them. While we do a lot of accessories, we try and do a mixture of different accessories along with a few, you know, that you might be able to find elsewhere at the same time. But if we do ever go into storage, that is something that I agree would be a very good storage option. It's just how it would work with the weight and the cantilever. I'm not sure how much you could get away with it, especially if it's a big case, because it could just, you know, topple to the side because of the weight of the diamonds in it. But yeah, I'd love something that you wouldn't have to lift that bottom case out of, for sure. Alyssa says, hi Rebecca and everyone. She says she always multi-places with rounds only. She says she doesn't feel like the diamonds line up straight multi-placing with squares. She says she uses up to a 6-placer. She says she has tried up through to a 15, but she finds that the diamonds are too close together, and she has to spread them out every time that she places them down. She says her drafting table has a pen holder, so she has a separate pen for each size multi-placer, 2 through to 6, with a single placer on the other end, and she switches out pens for each amount of diamonds in a row. She says when it comes to placing horizontal, she said she does bring her pen from above so she can see where she's putting it down. So she comes in from above instead of straight down, she says, as you would when you're single placing. She said she hopes she's describing it well enough to understand through text. It can be hard to understand through text, but no, it does make sense to me. So at the minute I'm bringing my pen down, she brings it down this way so she can see where she's going. She says she's enjoying the whip and waffles and thank you for all that I do. Oh, thank you. And thank you for your tips for multi-placing, because they not only help me, but they help others as well that maybe want to give it a go or are new to diamond painting and are including multi-placing in their diamond painting skills from the beginning. Layla says, hi all. She says she had sort of been losing interest in diamond painting for a while. So she ended up taking what would be a 10-month long break from it. She said during May, she said some of your videos started popping up on her YouTube feed. She says, and she slowly started getting back into it again. She started again just in time for June Waffle. Well done, YouTube. Actually timing that right. She says she's picked a smaller painting just to not get stuck having to do it by force in case her sections were too big. But she loves it so much. She says she is doing huge chunks alongside on her big work in progress. She's catching up on all my videos that she's missed in the last 10 months. She said, thank you for spiking my interest yet again, and happy summer to all. Well, I'm so happy that you found diamond painting again. It is something, I think, with any hobby, depending on how much you do it originally, you can find that you sort of, in effect, all in, burn out a little bit. But if you give yourself that allowance to, go with the flow, quite often you do find that you go back to it a little bit more. Because, it was a love in the first place for a reason. It was a love for a reason. And you do find that you tend to go back, just maybe albeit not as intense as you did in the first place. Give you chance to really enjoy it and take your time. And if you don't get to do it or don't feel like doing it for a bit, don't beat yourself up. Mine tend to last about a week or so. Sometimes where either, life instigates that I just haven't had the time. And it can be mixed in with a little mixture of not feeling like I want to either. So you can mix sort of those two things together. But when I do get back to doing it, it's like, oh yeah, I do love this hobby. And then you'll find I'll do it a little bit more intensely for a couple of weeks before it gets back to sort of what I'd consider my normal, which is probably very different to everybody else's normal. But yeah, it doesn't wane off as long as 10 months for me, but scrapbooking did. It waned off for about a year where I just didn't. And I think it was just the period of life that I was in and not having the same sort of amount of pictures and things to do it with. And I think that's what's kept me off it at the moment for what is nearly 5 years. Is, the kids are all grown up, and while there is pictures of the kids, I don't know, I think scrapbooking young kids for me was always the love. Many people are absolutely amazing at scrapbooking all sorts of events and occasions, and it doesn't have to include children, and some of them don't include children at all. But it was scrapbooking my kids that drew me to it, and scrapbooking my kids when they were younger that drew me to scrapbooking in the first place. So therefore, now I'm not in that stage of life. It has phased off. It may come back, it may not, but I will go with the flow, and know that I do still have all those memories from when they were younger, which brings me joy, and I'm glad I did it. So Stephanie, she said, that's the trouble with centre parks. She says all that fresh air and walking/cycling makes you tired. Yes, it definitely does. Centre parks is definitely different. So for those that don't know or don't have a centre parks, it tends to be based in a forest. So there's lots of different forests, and it's like a mini village. And there is either apartments like we stayed in, so there tends to be just really the one apartment block, but then there are loads of different log cabins of different sizes. So a lot of families will of course pick a cabin, and they can you know, sleep 4, 6, 8, some are, I think, even sleep 12. So sometimes it'll be multiple families in one cabin. But the idea is you're allowed to drive your car to your cabin or apartment to unload. So to take all your possessions out. And then you take your car down to the car park. They have a massive car park, and apart from a few designated disabled bays within the park, nobody uses their car for their stay. So they have, you can either have a weekend break from Friday to Monday, a midweek break from Monday to Friday, or you can have a week break Friday to Friday, or of course a 2-week. But again, Friday to Friday. So they are, Monday and Fridays are their arrival and departure days. But all the other days, so Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there are no cars on the park, unless it is a couple of little, you know, actual Centre Parks vans doing maintenance, or disabled access for cars that way. So there is just, more often than not, it is just cycling and walking, and that's all it is. And then there's loads of different activities and things to do, and they've got a big water park pool, and yeah, loads and loads of different stuff to do, and a spa and a big sports hall and all the things. But yeah, you do pretty much walk everywhere or cycle. She says it's great fun. She says she's loving the wooden pen and the metal tips that she ordered from our shop. She said she's found that she can manage the 3 drill tip okay, and she has been practicing. She said, can you tell me what the difference is between the red and the blue wax, please? She says, if there is one, or if it's just colour. See, now this is the long old debate. So I don't work at a factory, or I don't know the ins and outs. Of course I don't work at a factory. I don't know the ins and the outs of the actual making of the wax, the red or the blue. I personally prefer the blue, but I don't know if there is actually any difference between the two. I know there are quite a few people that prefer the blue, and whether it be, I don't know if it's the colour and sort of the colour that could make some sort of chemical change to the wax, or whether it is just purely personal preference telling us it is better. But I think the blue wax is better. But as I say, I don't know why. I don't know if there is an actual chemical reason for that, or whether it's just, I don't know, the blue wax is pretty. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like pink, but the blue wax is pretty. Or maybe it's just because it's different to what you get in most standard kits that makes me like it more. I don't know. But now I've gone to glue darts. I'm not going back. Jackie, she says, hi Rebecca. She says, you saying that there were other months that have got 30 days, she said, got her thinking. She says she is enjoying doing her dedicated section of the Zesty Wolf every day. She says she has got 7 already kitted up. So going forward, she says she thinks she will choose one of them to start clearing them up. Yeah, so it can be nice to say, I do love a painting that you start, you know when you're going to finish, because I don't think it's just me, but diamond paintings take longer than I think. And I should have learnt by now that they take longer than I think, but I still don't. I still start a diamond painting and think, oh yeah, I can finish this in a month. Start a big one, I can finish this in a month. And I'll be lucky if I'm halfway through and I feel like I've done really big sections. It takes longer than you think. It really does. So it can be nice to, especially on some of the smaller ones where you're not, you know, committing yourself to 3 hours of diamond painting a day to get that large one done. And I should remind myself, this is taking me an hour a day, and this is a 40 by 60, and it's taking me a month. So there's no way that my 70 by 80 is going to get done in a month. Because I can't guarantee that I will do a section a day this size. So yeah, I should learn. But diamond painting does always take longer than you think. However, I do think it is nice every now and then, and maybe it is just every month that there's a 30-day in it, to kit up a painting. Maybe it just be a 30 by 40 that you fancy doing, or maybe you do decide to go for a bigger one and bigger sections. That depends on the time you have to diamond paint and your speed. But I do think it's nice to sort of section one up and go, okay, I'm doing a section of that a day, and then I'll move on to, you know, another one or a big one or something that will just chug along alongside it. And yeah, then you know you're going to complete that one by X date, and then you can switch your focus to another one if you haven't managed to finish two at the same time. I can finish a 30 by 40 if it is my only diamond painting. I can finish a 30 by 40 in a couple of weeks if I, you know, am doing whatever size section I want to. So 2 or 3 sections an evening, sometimes even quicker, sometimes in a week. And I forget that a large painting is not going to get completed just as quick. And I should know better. I should know better. Alice says, well, she says, seeing as we are talking about holidays, she says she was lucky enough to go to Tasmania, which is an island off Australia, but still part of Australia. She says she has a family over there. She says, and my word, she says how good it was to see them. She says, but now that we're back, it doesn't feel like we even went away. And she's feeling a bit down about coming back to reality and missing them so much. She said to get there, you have to go via boat or via plane. The boat is a full day or an overnight sailing, and the flight is 45 minutes. She says we flew over, but her flight over there was delayed by 2 hours. She says, anyways, it was a lovely holiday, and the best part was the laughs and the memories with the family. She says, but now she is trying not to be too sad. She says, thankfully, she has June Waffle to keep her busy. She said, is your daughter back from Oz as of yet? No, she is currently still in Australia. She's on a year-long working visa. She now has a full-time job, and I think her plan is to come back just before Christmas this year. But yeah, she's still there. She did a 3-day trip viewing the Great Ocean Road with some friends the other weekend, and now, yeah, she's working full-time and then is going to fit in a few more trips as she goes along. But yeah, she's having fun. She said, generally speaking, she says, yeah, with the mystery image, she said, yes, you will be able to make out the image if you look at the canvas as a whole. She says, but if mine is an abstract, she said she is wondering if it would be different. She said she would love to see the mystery painting come to life. maybe I'll try, if I remember, I will try and take some sort of pictures bit by bit of my mystery painting and maybe put it at the end of the dekitting, you know, once I've given chance for anybody who's got the painting and doesn't want to see it to get off the video. I'll pop some pictures up at the end of that video, sort of showing the painting bit by bit and how it came to life for me. Yeah, I'll try and do that because it's quite light at the moment. I'm not doing it in winter. So when I start working on the diamond painting, it's quite light. So I should be able to take a decent picture, or at least a decent enough picture that you can see rather than it being a dark and dingy one. So I'll try and take a picture of it before I start my next section and keep doing that each time. And then put it together as a little montage at the end of my dekitting, so you can see how it appeared. Lisa, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she's just caught up on previous videos. She said she is a bit late to the party, and she has decided to go with a work in progress that she was already working on, which is Emerald City from Diamond Art Club. She said she's glad that we had a nice break at Center Parcs. Thank you. Yeah, working on whips, June is an ideal time for it. Just keep going, just try and do a section a day. And if you can, whether you post it on the Facebook group or not, try and again take sort of periodic images of where you're up to with your canvas, with your section, with your painting of any sorts, so that you can see the progress, because it made a huge difference for me with my Heaven and Earth design, actually going back and going, oh, I've got this far in a month, or I've got this much done. It actually can be really helpful to sort of know the speed that you tend to work at and how quick you tend to get things done. Right, oh, there's another one. I was getting ready to get rid of just a couple of little trashy bits that are floating in the bottom of the tray. And there's another diamond hiding. Right, where's my big tub of 3, 5, 6? I've got 3, 4 so far. So let's tip a load more out and get that ready to go. Oh, maybe I overfilled that one a bit too much. I am throwing them everywhere else. Colleen, she says, hi sweetie. She said, have you ever done a landscape diamond painting? She said she was wondering. Yes, I've done quite a few. Well, this one's a landscape. Or do you mean a landscape as in a scenery landscape? I have done some of those as well. I do still always tend to work on my painting as though it was a portrait, even though I have done landscape ones, so that may look as though I've not. I do always turn them on the side, and I always do it so that the symbols are going that way instead. So if that was upright, the symbols are going that way because I can read them better that way. But yeah, I have done some portrait ones of trees and things like that in the past. Yeah, if you look, there is a video actually I'll put up in January going through my logbook and the paintings that I've completed. There might be some that are in there that you can see if they've been done in sort of the last 2 years. Michelle says her mum worked in Woolworths in the 90s in Wisconsin, USA. She said, and she loved going to visit her at work. She says the Woolworths discussion brings back some great memories. She says she still has some boxes that she bought when she worked there. and they get to see them every Christmas when they open their gifts. Oh, amazing. Reminiscing, even if it is about a shop that used to be available, is bringing back such nice memories for some people. It's so good. So good how our topic of conversation can lead to something that you don't particularly think that it will. Like, you don't know that it will lead to something. But yeah, it's so nice that the conversations lead to happy memories. Happy memories. Nancy, she says, thank you for your whip and waffle, Rebecca. She says she's currently doing War Pony by Diamond Art Club. She says, so once she finishes that, she is going to start something else. She says while she is not doing the numbered sections with you, she says she has in the past. She is just enjoying the time diamond painting with me. You do what works for you. There are a few people that are doing it in, the systematic way, and I completely get why they are, because I do love that way. I thrive off a nice systematic format, a nice plod through format for diamond painting. It does. It makes me so happy. It's like, I don't know, it's just like a productive day that just goes as planned, doing it in a nice, I say, block by block, row by row, moving it up. That's why I like my cover papers. All that really works for me. It is a bit out of my what you call comfort zone doing it this way, but I like the variety and the fact that it, funds it up a little bit. But I do tend to find, as much as I do suggest to people that really enjoy the splitting it up to do it more than just in June and December, I find I only really do it in June and December, because just that is when it works for me. It works for me when I section it into a certain number of sections and it's going to be completed by an X date. It's like the project takes on a whole different level of meaning, and therefore I'm perfectly fine with it being different sections, because I know that it will be all lined up and all filled in by the end of June. But doing it on a painting that I don't take note of how many sections it is and when I'm going to finish it by, it just doesn't work for me. I guess it's just the way our brains work. Kerry, she says, hiya. She says she loves the tray setup. She says, but she has no room. Sometimes I feel like I have no room for it either, Kerry. So I do feel your pain. It doesn't work for everybody. It wouldn't work for my normal daily diamond painting unless I started doing it on the dining table instead. But it's not quite the same as sitting on the couch in an evening. So for me, while I am going to do this setup again, it's more going to be for I'm going to really enjoy it for my Heaven and Earth Design Mini, which is only 15 colours, because that will help me get through each section of that a lot quicker. And if I do use it in the future for another painting, it will probably be one that I do similar to the waffle. I do a section a day and have it set up on the dining table, and then go and move to the couch and sit down on the couch and do it that way. But yeah, it doesn't work for everybody, but for those that can make it work, it's a dream. It's a dream. She says she's been doing some Paint Gem minis. She says, but today she worked on Spirit of Flight. She says, and yes, she's still working on it. I actually started doing a Paint Gem mini a day, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before, and I love doing it. I do it at random times. But at the moment I've got 2 Paint Gen Minis left, and I need to kit up a load. I need to do the videos of the de-kitting and the kitting up, and that's what's sort of stopping me from doing the last 2 that I have, is that I know when I've done those last 2 I don't have any more. And I'm sure as soon as I get a chance to squeeze in doing those videos, that I will all of a sudden go back to doing 1 a day, because I've got so many sets I want to work through. But part of me as well, because the videos of me de-kitting won't be until July. Some of them may even be August, because I don't like to jam pack too many together. I kind of want to wait as well until the newest releases are with me, in case it picks those for me to kit up. It's random, isn't it? The thoughts that go through my head. But yeah, I've absolutely loved doing them alongside my big one. So yeah, she's still working on Spirit of Flight, but she said it needs some love. She said she's loving our weather at the moment. She says, but it is back to work for her tomorrow. And working in this nice weather is not going to be as much fun. I get that. I don't know what it is sometimes that makes us think, oh, work is not a... It's like we're missing out on the nice weather. But then when you have a day off and it's the nice weather, you still end up doing stuff at home. You just end up pottering about. I think it's just because it's nicer you can potter about. Because I must say, I do really enjoy working when it's nice like this. And I think it is because I can potter in and out and enjoy the weather, but not be sat in the weather. I can't go out and sit in the garden and think this is my happy place. I can't do that. But I do love to potter about in the weather, and put washing out and bring washing in and tidy up places. And it just, it just makes the house feel fresher as well when it's nice and warm. Amy says to put the list of the pens that I've been gifted in my logbook. Yeah, I might do that. I do have, there's a couple of different places that I sort of keep things recorded. And I try to keep, I try to corral them together, but they all work differently for different ways. So I find that if I'm looking for a list, I think I'm going to put it in my notes on my phone and on my computer. That tends to be something where I go for some certain things. So like our customs codes for postage and things are listed on notes. Our printer and serial numbers for the printer and stuff are on there. And I don't know, it just makes sense for it to be there for me. But then I use spreadsheets for other things. But I feel like it doesn't necessarily warrant a full spreadsheet. I just need a reference, a record. Anyway, yeah, I do need to sometimes think of my list, because I also use Trello as well, which is great for my day-to-day list and for us to keep track of launches and things like that. But yeah, I've not found anything that is perfect to sort of incorporate everything yet into one. Not that doesn't cost £100 to buy. And we'll basically just put my spreadsheets and everything else in one place. Oh, that ends up saving. Sorry, that was my memory card saving it mid-speak. But I was also thinking to myself, I've missed that one down there. Don't miss it, don't miss it. Amy also says, she says for June, she is getting what she's already started done. Then what is kitted up. She said, so she's doing the smalls first, and then she may take one of her kitted up ones away with her, depending on what space she has. She says they go away every June for a weekend with her son, who's 4. She says, but now his allergies do make it a little bit harder. She says, but worth it for him to be able to see family. She says she needs the getaway too. Yeah, we all do, just for, you know, varying amounts of time. Sometimes a weekend's enough. Sometimes a couple of weeks needed. If you're seeing family, that bit longer is often needed. Ooh. This is the one that I dropped on the floor, so I think I've just picked up a little bit of grass there with my latest diamond, which must have been on the rug in my craft room. Oh, I think I've got the hiccups as well. Susan says, hi Rebecca. She says she's been trying to find where to post pictures for the June waffle. She said she did one strip today, the 4th. She says as she's been sick, so she's been doing an old whip that she was working on. It's 135 by 60 in 3 panels. She said she hopes that's okay. She said, glad you had a great holiday. That is more than okay, Susan. You work on what works for you. The pictures we're seeing and the pictures we're loving seeing, it's a variety of things. There are cross stitch on there, there's cards on there, there's diamond paintings that people have started just for the event, but there's also a load of whips on there. So I think today I remember seeing somebody has finished a painting, so therefore showed their finished painting and the one that they're going to start next. But the thread, or the sort of congregated place to show us what you're doing and see what everybody else is doing, is on my Facebook group. So my Facebook group is linked in the description below. You do need to agree to the rules, which is basically play nice. As long as you agree to those rules, then you'll get accepted into the group and will stay there unless you break those rules. But yeah, it's a thread that it is written by me and it goes up each and every day. It's normally really near the top of the chat because people are commenting on it all the time and so often. But I have dated each of my posts with the date in June. So today's will show as 10th of June 2023. It will then have section and the number for the section that I've done. And then underneath that, just a little bit of, you know, here's where you post what you've been up to. And everybody's post will be on there. I do try and pin them occasionally, you know, try and keep them in the featured section at the top. But it's not always easy to keep on top of that. And remember to take one down and put one up. Yeah, I get a bit behind on doing that one, but they are normally quite near the top of the group because, as I say, people are posting on them all the time. But feel free, and I would love it if you can, you know, post what it is that you've been doing, because I love seeing everybody's diamond paintings and the different designs that people choose and designs that I've not seen before. There's a couple of ones that I really do have my eye on, though I don't need any more paintings, but there are a couple. They are a group of enablers. They're, you know, we keep getting tagged, me and Megan keep getting tagged in pictures of things that we'd love, and they are always bob on, and it is so hard sometimes for us to not go getting what they're suggesting, because there's some amazing pictures out there. Jennifer, she says she's never understood, she said, why there is such a disconnect with the idea. She says that multi-placing is somehow not placing every single diamond. She said the same actions involved in single placing are the ones used in multi-placing. She says the fact that you can single place diamonds with a multi-placer tool makes the idea that there's some sort of inherent difference to those two seem kind of silly. So I don't think it's not the action of placing the diamonds, because as you say, you can place single diamonds with a multi-placer. And I think if somebody used a multi-placer to place diamonds singly throughout the whole painting, then they would feel as though they'd placed them all singly. It's the fact that singly, it takes more time to place each diamond, because you are picking up and you are choosing where each diamond goes. I know you sort of do with multi-placing, but in a way you don't. You sort of choose where one goes and then you make the rest follow. And I think it's that aspect that people get, that they, or feel that they are cheating if they multi-place. And it's not that multi-placing is wrong, and I don't think anybody's ever said that. It's how they personally feel that if they are not doing this action for every diamond, then they've not placed each individual diamond. So it's not about the action of doing it. It's about the fact that one action of this results in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 diamonds being placed, and therefore they feel as though they haven't really placed the other 6 that went down at the same time. Does that make sense as to why? She says, that being said, she said she always felt that people should do what they enjoy most. She says, as long as they are not using their position on this as some sort of gatekeeping to the hobby, she said, who cares at the end of the day? And that's true. Like, you know, the question about why people think it's different is a valid one. But I don't think anybody that has said that they multi-place, or any comment that I've read out about people who single place, instead of multi-placing, not one of those people or comments has said that you shouldn't multi-place. They have all given their feelings on the matter, not told other people that they're cheating. That's never been something that's come up in a comment, because that sort of comment isn't something that I would agree with reading out, because it isn't about saying what is right and what is wrong in diamond painting. It is about giving an opinion on their thoughts, or giving tips and tricks. I'll give tips and tricks, and there's some amazing tips that work absolutely perfectly for me. And while I don't understand necessarily the fact that they don't work for other people, it's not up to me to understand it doesn't work for other people. If other people say it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Like, there's no, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Because everybody's wired differently. She says she's not really getting much of a chance to participate in the Waffle this year. She says, but she's doing her best to catch up on videos at the weekend. That's no mean feat either. She says she is trying to finish a project that she's had going since April while she's catching up, and she hopes everybody has a great Waffle. Well, I hope you are getting on great with your project. It would be nice if you've had one that's ongoing since April, for even if you haven't finished, for you to get a nice chunk of it done, and hopefully the June Waffle will give you that little bit of motivation to get as much done as you can. Multi-placing or not, completely up to you. it's just, I think it's just, it really is just a view of some people, and I think that's the reason why. It's not how it's done, it's the fact that the same action for one will give you 6. And people feel that they shouldn't, you know, in effect be able to do it that quick. And it's not necessarily the right view, but it is a view. And I have the same sort of view often, that it's like, oh, am I cheating? But there is no rules. So no, I'm not cheating. But if to me it feels cheating, then that's when I don't do it. But yeah, I'm more open to it than I ever used to be. But that's because I do kind of, in effect, want to cheat. I want to get some done quicker. And I won't look on those paintings any less than paintings that I've single placed. But yeah, it doesn't feel normal to me. And it may get to the point where it does feel normal, and then it doesn't feel any different at all. Liz, she says, thanks Rebecca. She says it's looking good. She said she has spent the weekend in her garden. She says she's mainly been sorting out some containers and planting some annuals. She says she is getting more sections done on her June waffle, painting in a day than just the one. So if she misses a day or so, she has a few in hand. She says if she finishes before the end of June, she is going to move on to her Diamond Art Club mystery kit and hopefully get that finished too. She says she has 2.5 lines to do, so she is on the home stretch. Well, and that comment was left on the 4th, so I think there is a very, very big chance that you will be on your mystery. And if you keep up the rate you're going, then there'll be a very, very big chance that you will finish your mystery too. That is some good working. Lady Dax, she says she doesn't really know what to do with herself today. She said it is so quiet without having the boys there. It's just such a drastic change, isn't it, when they go home after, you know, being there for a couple of weeks. She says she got today's section done early, and then she went and deadheaded all the plants in her garden. She says she went out to the pub for lunch and had lemonade, and she is now sitting and working on her custom. She says she is really missing her grandsons. Oh, give them a ring on FaceTime or whichever sort of video calling that you have available. Give them a ring and tell them that you're missing them. Find out what they've done. Fill your house with the sound of their chatter while they tell you what they've done for the day. And maybe that will keep you going just for that little bit. And then you can enjoy both, you know, the loudness of their day and the chat, and also the quiet afterwards, maybe with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Yvette, she says, hi Rebecca. She says we are enjoying the June waffle so far. She says me and Jay have finally caught up on the waffles as they went away for a few days to Blackpool. She said Jay is continuing with his Diamond Art Club Emerald City, and she has a 30 by 40 from eBay, which is hard for her to do because the canvas is blurry. She said alongside that, she is also working on Diamond Art Studio outside the sweet shop. She says with 197 colours. She says it is great. She says, but it is very slow going. She said, as you can imagine. She said, thanks for all that you do. I have got my case ready. I've actually got a new case ready for outside the sweet shop, and the other one that was 192 colours. I keep changing my mind between which one I want to do first when the restocks come in. I cannot quite decide which one I want to do, so maybe I'll put it to you guys for a vote and go for the one that's voted, because I really do keep changing my mind. But yeah, I think that is a large painting that I am going to have kitted up and do it alongside another painting that is a little less, it doesn't take my mind as much, should we say. But yeah, there we go. Section 18 is done. We are definitely one side heavy on this diamond painting. Maybe we will end up in a different part of this tomorrow. Time will tell. But thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow.